Hello lovely people, I'm K3N, welcome to my channel. I wanted to do another flip through of This Is My Keeper of Memories book that I made from my Auntie Lily. There is a flip through already that was filmed about a year ago when I made it, which was filmed by my daughter with me sitting with it on my knee, and I had some requests to show it more up close and in more detail. Also, I hadn't at that point made the wrap for it, so I can show you that as well. I made this, like I said, about a year ago after doing an online course with a Portuguese artist called Alex Castro Ferreira, and it was lovely. It was very enjoyable. It took me several weeks of quite long days working on it, but I got so absorbed, and it was like spending time again with my lovely Auntie Lily. So I will show you the wrap. I've got you zoomed in as far as I can while still fitting it in. I'll just put the book to one side for a minute and I'll just show you the wrap, which won't all fit in, so I'll show you in sections. On the outside of the wrap I photocopied some photographs and I put a cream wax coating on them so that I could stitch through them and just to preserve them a bit. And I've done various kinds of stitching, some old doilies. The pink was some of Auntie Lily's actual tablecloth, which I've dyed with a very, very exhausted madder root from my garden. There's my Auntie Lily with my Uncle Fred on their wedding day. So that's the wrap. It's a wrap. Also, I photocopied some envelopes that were meaningful. There's an envelope addressed to my Auntie Lily and Uncle Fred from my grandmother, inviting them, I think that was to my parents' wedding, 1963. And this little piece on the end is an embroidered end off a pillowcase of my Auntie Lily's. I've been using bits of it here and there, but that was the actual embroidered end, which I rust printed a little bit. So that's the wrap. I'll turn it back over to use that as a surface for putting the book on. And here's the book. Here's the book itself. So I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about Auntie Lily and her story. It's much more just to show you kind of close-ups. If I show you the spine, maybe it's better that way. You'll see that there's several signatures inside, all with different kinds of work in, and it's bound through these tabs holding the front and back of the book. It's an old book cover that had actually fallen apart on one side of the spine. So I used, this is the front cover and spine, and this is the back, and I had to put another piece of cardboard in there, and then I covered it with cloth. On the cover itself there's a little matchbox. I'll pop the link, by the way, to Alex's website down in the description if you want to check it out. I don't know if this particular tutorial's still available, but hopefully it is, because it was so lovely and so many things different to the kind of work I usually do. So here's a little matchbox which slides out, and in it is a penny upside down. Yeah. She always used to save me her coppers. She said they were too small and fiddly for her to use, but I think it was just a way to give me extra pocket money. And then there's a little strip of photos of me and her and stitched together that live in there. And here she is in the side here with a little pencil, because she was a great writer. This is a little bundle that I made of some bits of lace and cloth, and a little photo of her in the middle and another photo of her. Oh, untie it, it opens more easily. So inside, move it over a bit. I'm sorry. Making all these really interesting pieces, Alex calls them patchworks, was all part of the process. I won't go into a lot of detail about how it was done, but like I said, if you're interested, just go and check it out. There's all kinds of different treatments of photos everywhere. Photocopies of letters and diaries of hers that I had. But it's so textural and lovely. Lovely to feel, to touch. More photos. These are actual I kind of stressed a bit about putting things like this in here. These are actual from her, among her papers. But then I thought, well, otherwise they're in a box, you know, let's put them in the book, and then I'll look at them more often. And I do, I often flip through, that's her actual handwriting. And the same with the photos, you know, I had so many photos of hers. So some are photocopies and some are the actual photo. And I got over myself and stitched into them, again, just to keep everything all in this one place where I'm more inclined to look at it. I put little words here and there describing her and her life. If you want to know more about that side, I do recommend you check out the other video. Like I said, it was actually filmed by my daughter, who's called Lily, after my Auntie Lily. Me sitting outside on our terrace flipping through it and talking about her. It's a poem that she wrote. There's all kinds of flip outs and, whoops, things hidden, tucked under, things stamped that relate to things. It was such a wonderful project. Here, there she is, and there she is again. I love that kind of element of repetition. Actual photo again of her blowing up a balloon. I think it was a competition. There she is. More handwriting from her diaries, and those are photocopies. Little scraps of paper that she'd written various addresses on. Bits of lace. It was so involving. I just love doing it. I must make another one. I want to make one for my dad. That probably will be the next project of this kind. Some more of the patchworks. This was a little, that's her actual engagement ring in there, safe and sound. And that's a little locket that she wore. In here, it's the same photo, but it's given different treatment. So that was a photocopy that I rust printed, a photocopy that I stitched little French knots where their hearts are, and then the actual photo. Sorry about the dogs. I'll ignore them. I'm not expecting anybody. Lots of eco print paper that I already had because I do that a lot, but there are other techniques that Alex explained about the rust printing and tea dyeing and so on that I've also included. There's a photo in an envelope. And there they are again. Auntie Lily and Uncle Fred. Little piece of muslin that was rust printed. Little window so that they peep through. F for Fred and L for Lily, and the date they were married, 1936. Which is actually on the back of this photo of my Uncle Fred. That sits in there. This was a silver wedding anniversary. It was an invitation. The B-Row book. If you're in the UK, maybe you've heard of the B-Row book. All the women in my family had a copy. It's my Uncle Fred with me on his knee. When I was small and cute, now I'm large and cute. I made a little pocket with some old wallpaper. And there's the original of Uncle Fred with me on his knee. Oh, it's all glary. There's another photo of him with his car. So it was the same pictures used in all kinds of different ways. That was nice as well. It was nice to think of different ways inspired by Alex and, you know, some of my own ideas. More envelopes. Here I had lots of these negatives, which I'm sure most of you know. But, you know, in the olden times, before we did digital photography, we had negatives as well as the actual print. And this was about being in the park, so I stuck some leaves in. And there's a little pouch I made. I do make pouches quite often. And then in there is me with Aunty Lily and Teller of Tales, and this phrase that goes through the book about believing in fairies. She always used to send me down to the bottom of the garden to look for the fairies. So that lives in there. I'll just leave that like that for now. I'll sort that out later. This was a letter that I wrote to her when I was maybe 6 or so. So that lives in there. Little bits and bobs of the patchwork. She made these big patchworks and then cut them or tore them up, and then all the little leftover pieces you could use. That's a girl holding a lily, so I thought that was appropriate. You could use them within the book. And this is some stitching, what do you call that, ephemera, bits and bobs, because she was a great stitcher of clothes. I believe she made that dress that she's wearing. I'm pretty sure she did. And I believe also she made what I'm wearing. And I'm fairly certain as well that she made both of those. And she taught me how to knit. Here is a little bit from a letter from her second husband, Eric, talking about me breaking the glass door. That was when we lived in Wales. I was 7. And we had a glass door with a wooden panel across the middle. My mother used to shut it if she had her hands full with the bottom. And apparently I copied her and tried to do it, but my bottom was slightly nearer the ground and I went through the glass. Luckily I didn't hurt myself. But it's a family story. Here's another piece of the patchwork that's just loose, and I've sewn on this little collage of bits and bobs to match the colours in the photo. And that sits in a theatre programme. 6 old pence that cost. And then here are lots of more theatre programmes. There she is with the boat. Safely on dry land. She was not a fan of going in boats. It's the same picture that I've photocopied that's on the book wrap. Oops. She loved to play cards, especially bridge. It's my Uncle Eric, who is her second husband. More theatre programme. Some little cards that were given to her when she retired from her college. She worked at W.H. Smith's, which is still around, which is a newsagents and bookshop, and it sells all kinds of things these days in the UK. Whoops. Flappy flap. And this is her fairly young, this picture. And then underneath is a picture of her towards the end of her life. But still, I hope you can see the glare keeps. Still with a twinkle in her eye. And it must have been at Christmas because she's got her cracker hat on. And then in the back was more patchwork. So that's it. So I hope that was okay. That was what was asked for, to see more close up. And I look forward to you joining me next time for more cloth tales. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.